CAP in one sentence is CAP is a stablecoin that uses restaking as a primitive to secure yield and protect backing. Now, what exactly does this mean?
What are your top 3 protocols you're excited about right now?
Top 3 protocols I'm excited about. Other than CAP, I think a lot of cool stuff's happening on Hyperlook. They just have to just use the chain, understand, stay curious, not just see it as a job, but see it as a lifestyle. You go all in or get the fuck out. So,
what are the expected yields from the user side? Where in your whole farming strategy, where in your risk profile does CAP fit into?
We are so fucking close to the Genius Act passing. That's going to be a huge, I don't think people realize how big of a moment it is because crypto's existed for over 15 years. There's been no clear walls or rules. Definitely want to get them compensated for their risk and support for us early on. Got to reward the first followers. Everyone's getting into stocks with all these treasuries, buying coins, whether it's fucking Hyperliquid or Ethereum. Shout out Michael Saylor to starting that meta.
Welcome back to another episode of the Odyssey Pod. Today we are joined by DeFi Dave, who I first got to know through the, I think it was DeFi Flywheel podcast you guys were running.
Yep.
A year or two ago. It was mostly about the Frax ecosystem. And now he's working on Cap Money. So Dave, do you want to give a brief intro to yourself and how did you end up here?
Yeah, thank you so much, Max, for having me on. Yeah, it's funny. We're using Flywheel right now, and it's just taking me back to memories of when I was doing the Flywheel podcast every week, and we used Flywheel and logging in. I'm this is just like the good old days. But anyways, hey everyone, my name's DeFi Dave. I'm currently the head of growth Mysterio at CAP. I do other things as well, and eat bushwick stuff. And I've just always been around. I've been in crypto for a little bit of background about me. I've been in crypto for 8 years. I've been doing DeFi stuff for 5 years. I got into crypto because I worked at this blockchain, this encyclopedia. It was called Everpedia. It was just a website. And I was a writer for this website. It was a wiki. It was think of it as a newer Wikipedia. And I would just be writing all that content all day about things that weren't popular enough for Wikipedia, but they were still getting a lot of interest. So there's this Goldilocks zone. And then one day we woke up in 2017 during the ICR and it was just what if we were a blockchain encyclopedia? I was well, we were a blockchain. And I got just pulled into it, went along for the ride. I was at this place, Everpedia, for 4 years. So I'd go from regular encyclopedia to blockchain encyclopedia. I was there for 4 years. I ended up moving on I discovered DeFi in 2020. I remember I was actually just telling a story to somebody this morning about how I moved out of LA in 2020 and was on a road trip. And I remember during that road trip, that's when DeFi started popping off. And I remember seeing all this different action from, Wi-Fi launching, Uniswap, coins taking off. There's SNX, there was compound, there's all this stuff happening, compound farming, yield farming, all this stuff. It was very exciting. And I remember I wanted to make sense of it all. So I ended up just how I learn about the world and understand the world is through talking to people and through writing. So I just wrote and I've always been writing. Hell, I was a writer for this encyclopedia for 4 years. And so I just wrote a thread about what I was observing in DeFi at the time in July 2020. And I given myself a bunch of names on Twitter before. In 2017, I was Crypto Dave. I was definitely some other names I can't remember. And then in July 2020, I just became DeFi Dave. And with that thread, I remember my good friend, the Crypto Dog, shout out the Crypto Dog, gave me, I was hey, this is the thread, can you retweet it? And he was yeah, sure. And so he shared it. And that was my first thread, that took off. I was oh shit, there's something here. And I've just been writing and creating content ever since. I've been doing 2 things in parallel, writing, creating content, whether it's, podcasts and whatnot, and also throwing events. And then also I've been doing a lot of BD in the background. So, eventually I ended up joining Gelato in early 2021 as their head of growth. This is when Gelato was just Web3 automations. This was before grass was even a thing, before everything else that they were doing.
It from back then.
Yeah. So I was their first head of growth and I ended up getting in a lot of their early partnerships. We had this one product called limit orders because there was just DeFi was still the big thing back then. And I remember just integrating all the limit orders across all the major dexes on chain. There's a quick swap, with Spirit Swap, whatnot. There's were the 2. It was Spirit Swap and the other one on Phantom. There was 2 dexes on Phantom. I forget. Anyways, was there for a while, and then I ended up going back into the Frax ecosystem. So, fun fact: the founders of Everpedia ended up founding Frax as well. So I remember I was like living with Sam when he like first thought of like Frax and was like getting into stablecoins like early on in 2018 because we're all just like in his house together. So I've always been like around stablecoins and DeFi. I'm like very fortunate to be around people that are just incredibly intelligent and know way more than me. I just like soak up information like a sponge. And so I got like back into the Frax ecosystem. I ended up, being involved with it through Flywheel, which is, as this name brand Frax centric podcast. They ended up like becoming a general podcast. And then we did a bunch of different marketing and awareness activities for Frax. So, we created content, we like ran campaigns, we did like some BD, we threw a lot of events. We were just like, really good first followers of Frax. And I think like one thing like that's really amazing about Frax is just how resilient they've been over the years. I mean, how they launched in 2020 and their ability to like, I think evolve and adjust just has to be admired from, being like a DeFi farming coin back then, that was under collateralized. So now it's fully compliant Genius Act stablecoin with FRX USD with everything they're doing. Fraxnet and Fractal. So like shout out to Sam and team for all the progress there. Eventually, like we did Flywheel for 2 years. That was like my bear market work, honestly. Just I was very disciplined. I like made sure our team was very disciplined on coming out with podcasts every week. I was like, we gotta like that's our pulse. Every time you come out with the podcast, it shows that you're alive. And so I was very proud of that because we ended up getting like Alan from Pumped Out Fun early. We got, Shriram when no one cared about restaking. We got Guardy Guard. We interviewed 131 people. We've got some pretty cool people on. Um, and we did that for a while. Ended up, all good things come to an end. Ended up joining the Dinero, formerly Redacted guys, and led BD there for their branded LST products for about 8 months. I think like phenomenal team. Shout out Sammy and them. And then I ended up joining CAP because I've known Benjamin for a while, like from like 2021 when I was doing stuff at Gelato. I've like known about Cheetah and especially with all the different stuff we ran with at Frax and Cheetah, like all the different games on like the solidly forks and Curve and all that fun stuff. So like me and Ben knew each other like pretty well, and he asked me to hop on CAP. I knew about restaking before, so I like took like a better look into what he was doing. I'm like, shit, like the PMF for restaking is you. And CAP is really like the first one to make that a reality. And I was just like, all right, let's run it. And then he told me about like the team like he brought on, like all the Beefy devs. And so it's just like Beefy is like the premier multi-chain yield aggregator. So I was just like, wow, like I like to call us like the DeFi Avengers. Like what's unique about CAP is like we've all been in like the trenches of DeFi for 4 or 5 years. And this is like, we're taking all the lessons and all our experience that we learned and into CAP. And so yeah, I've been at CAP since January. We raised back in March our seed round, and so that was led by Franklin Templeton and Triton, formerly Kraken, with like a ton of support from uh, TradFi institutions like IMC. You had Susquehanna. You had Flow Traders. You have like a whole sheet, and so it's cool seeing this kind of convergence of like TradFi and DeFi with what's going on at CAP and what we've built. So yeah, that's kind of like the long story short of me. Yeah, I also wrote for the Defiant for a bit. One of the things I did was from like 2021 to 2023. One of the hacks I did on the conference circuit was that I'd like write for the Defiant and like cover conferences, and I'd just get like a press pass. So that's how I'd get into like conferences for free and like backstage. And it was cool when I was like just starting off because I got to like talk to all these people that I looked up to and like followed on the timeline. I was like, oh wow, now I'm like asking them questions and like getting their perspective on things. So that was like a nice character building experience. Shout out Cami, she's done great stuff at the Defiant. And yeah, that's kind of like a bit of my story, I guess.
Pretty long path and a lot of stops throughout the world of DeFi. And I think
Hmm.
from what you've told, quite a few DeFi OGs are now joining together again at CAP.
The DeFi
Do you want to
Avengers, that's what I
give
call
a
it.
brief
Yeah.
explainer of what CAP is trying to solve for?
Yeah, great question. Yes. So cap in one sentence is cap is a stablecoin that uses restaking as a primitive to secure yield and protect backing. Now, what exactly does this mean? Like, what is the problem here? Well, we use this framework of Type 3 stablecoins at CAP to kind of make the case for cap. So you have type one stablecoins, which are stablecoin. I like to say stablecoins that are one team, one strategy. So it's like one team. It's just like they do one thing really well. So that could be like treasury bills. It could be, like one hedge fund strategy, like the basis trade or something like that. But they just do that really well. It's like a very efficient way for participants to enter that trade without having to like go through like a bunch of other stuff. But the problem is that doesn't like really scale, and you're like completely reliant on like the team and custodians and the risks that have existed before in DeFi and that we've seen blow up. So those are type one stablecoins. Definitely has its purpose for sure, and like definitely some financial innovation. But that's type one stablecoins. Type two stablecoins, that is diverse team, diverse strategies. And so the team could be a committee, it could be a DAO, could be a group of people making a decision, and they choose a multitude of strategies. So it's humans manually choosing, okay, like it's a bear market, like let's go into the T-bills. Like, oh, like let's go into like, okay, bull market, let's go in the basis trade. Like, oh, this opportunity is interesting, let's put it in this shop. And so that has like a little bit more flexibility. But the issue there is like you're still dealing with humans. Humans are fallible. They make mistakes. They have conflicts of interest. So those are type two stablecoins. Still have their purpose. They still are able to scale. But yes, they all have like their trade-offs. Now we move on to type three stablecoins. And type three stablecoins use the power of market dynamics in order to allocate into the best strategy. So the yield generation allocation has no human involvement. It's basically in the same way with Bitcoin. It's like, oh, the most powerful miner gets the mining reward because of like the hashing rate, the difficulty rate. I mean, it's like kind of the same thing with the market dynamics with type three stablecoins like cap. And cap is, so what do I mean by that? So cap is like, no, it's an outsources yield externally infinite strategies. And so how does cap work? What do I exactly mean by that? So cap is a three-pronged system where you have users that mint our stablecoin, CUSD with USDC. We just announced PYUSD as the first to come into our cap stablecoin network consortium. So PYUSD is a partner, and other payment stablecoins that we'll announce in the future. So that's the users mint the stablecoin. We have operators who are the ones earning the yield. And so those are like, think like market maker shops, think like, HFT firms. They have some sort of edge. They know how to like earn yield better than we do. So that's why we outsource it to them. And then you have restakers who basically guarantee the whole system. They cover the whole system. They make sure like users are fully backstopped and they are 100% protected by downside risk. And so how does the system work? The operators and restakers, they come to some sort of an agreement. The operators are like, hey, this is their strategy. Hey, this is their history. Hey, here's their book. The restakers, they do their due diligence. They do their research. And if they're comfortable, they're like, okay, like, let's run it. And so they delegate their restaked capital to the operator. And so with that delegation and a whitelist, the operator is able to access the capital within the pool that the users mint CUSD with. So they're able to access, the USDC, the tethers, the PYUSD, and all that. And so they have a delegation, and that delegation basically acts as collateral. So they go, they get their stables. It's at like it's a variable interest rate. It's at their whatever interest rate. They go, they do whatever strategy they want. Maybe it's an on-chain strategy. Oftentimes it's an off-chain strategy. So they go redeem the stablecoin. They run their strat off-chain, and then they pay back the loan. They pay premium fees to the restaker. And here's the kicker here. All the capital that they make is they keep for themselves. So there's no cost of capital. It's basically free money for them if they do this right. And so that's why the operators we talk to are super interested in this, because they're like, oh wait, this is like a way for us to get free money. Like sign us up. So that's why that's why our cap table is, no pun intended, the way it is. So operators love it because they're able to grow their book with in a frictionless manner. Restakers love it because they have something worth restaking for. Remember what I said earlier, yield is the PMF of restaking. And users love it for two reasons. One, users, like I said, are fully protected at all times. Like I said this in a podcast earlier like a month ago. We were in this experimental phase of stablecoins where like users were basically like we're basically like everyone was beta and everybody was just like kind of like hoping for the best. And you had stablecoins get depegged, go to zero, collateral issues, all that fun stuff. The experimentation phase like that is not really a thing anymore. Now if you want to like actually scale into the hundreds of billions and trillions, like you have to like protect users 100%. And with restaking, users are always fully protected. And so let's say in a scenario where like the operator fucks up or like something happens, well, remember they have their delegation from the restaker. So the restaker gets slashed. What gets slashed gets sold into the collateral, and it's fully and it backs the stablecoin once again. So users are 100% protected at all times. Like we take safety very seriously at Cap. Hell, we've had 5 audits. Anyways, and then the second reason is what I said earlier. You have this infinite canvas of yield that now can be accessed because of market dynamics. And so now maybe some operators are good at strategies in a bear market. Maybe some are like better in a bull market. Maybe some see an opportunity in 24 hours. Maybe one sees an opportunity for like a week or a month or whatever. You can't really make a stablecoin out of a strategy for a day or a month, but you can create a marketplace in which these strategies can plug in and out of and access capital to in order to anyway. So you have I call it the infinite canvas for yield. In the same way, like Ethereum's like the infinite garden of apps, Cap is the infinite canvas for yield. So all these different yield strategies can plug in and out. And so that's Cap, no cap. And yeah, we've had like a lot of stuff in the pipeline. This week alone, we just announced, like I said, PayPal USD joining our Cap stablecoin network. And the Cap stablecoin network is basically all of our collateral basket that will the payment stablecoins that will be backing Cap. Not only are they going to like back Cap, but we're actually going to get earn the treasury yield that the stablecoin gets natively as like a base yield generation strategy. So very exciting stuff. Like I've been saying this on Twitter. I've been beating this drum. Institutions love Cap. That isn't just a mantra; it's a reality. And so, from PayPal to, like I said, like all the Wall Street, Franklin Templeton, and everyone else in between that we'll announce soon. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on at Cap, and it's been quite the wow. It's been like 6 months. Yeah, it's been quite like over 6 months.
Pretty cool. So how do the operators look like? Are these comparable to vault curators, like what Gauntlet is doing, or how can you
So these are
imagine
actual
what is
like
going
market
on in the
making.
backend?
Yeah, so these are like potentially like actual like market making shops, but especially ones that have like been on, in traditional finance. So it's not really in the future we'll like onboard maybe like more like crypto native firms like operators, and how all they need is like get someone to restake for them. And once they get like restaked and whitelisted, they can join. In terms of like curation, we've had Gauntlet actually, I mean, no. In terms of curation, we had KS Labs do a whole report on us for EtherFi. So all these like research shops, they do like the reports for the restakers, and they concluded like, yes, like Cap is good, Cap is safe. We recommend you can delegate X amount of capital to Cap. So that's where the curation comes in.
What are the expected yields from the user side? Imagine if you're a DeFi farmer, you like stablecoin farming, where in your whole farming strategy, where in your risk profile does Cap fit into?
Yeah. So without points, I expect the yield to be maybe like like 7 to 9% for a stablecoin, which is pretty damn good. And I expect that to like stick because of the flexibility of Cap's system and strategies. Um, you know, when we launch, we are like in currently researching doing a program and rewarding those first early users. Definitely want to get them compensated for their risk and support for us early on. Got to reward the first followers. So with like points, it'll be boosted as well.
How did you arrive at the idea of Cap? What did you see in the stablecoin space, especially given your background at Frax and like the DeFi nativity of the other Cap team members? How did the idea develop?
So the idea developed with Benjamin, him and his brother, like when they went back and forth with ideas, and Cap was the one that stuck. So Benjamin just ran with that. He assembled a team, including Jay, our head of research, who's absolutely brilliant. He was at, I think he has his like postgraduate degrees from Stanford. I didn't realize how deep the Stanford mafia goes until I like talked to him. I was like, oh shit, this is crazy. Uh, our team's only 7 people. Like I said, we have also like the beefy guys who have been around for years, and you have like myself who have been around for a bit as well. Um, and like I think what's exciting about Cap is how it takes different building blocks together that have worked, kind of like ingredients to a cake, and it just like comes out like something very new, novel, and delicious. No pun intended. And so it takes, you know, pooled lending. So like a model that's works. And so we take that into the market that decides like, oh, like between users and operators. And then we take restaking, which is this really powerful primitive that hasn't even come close to reaching its full potential. When you mention restaking to someone right now, they're like, oh, isn't restaking dead? Like, oh, wasn't that points farming thing? Which was the case. But now, like, what people are coming around to is that, like, okay, there are things that we can restake. Restaking is just like very early. I realized, like, being in it, I didn't like the development of it. But like now, as like things are maturing and like things are actually gonna go live, people are gonna see like, wow, we can like use restaking for. It's a really powerful tool, and we can use it for a lot of different things. And the thing that makes sense to take risk for is to restake for yield. So it takes like, these two different primitives, and we create something new, novel, never before seen in DeFi. And we basically, what's cool about it is we take the power of, crypto economic guarantees that have always made crypto attractive by creating this like neutral field for participants to enter and exit without having to fear bias, whether it's like Bitcoin or Ethereum. And we just apply that to yield generation. And so now like we have a system of a protocol rules and standards where operators who are in TradFi are coming to use cap, not because there's like, oh, it's just it's like, we have this like ethos or like, oh, like this is our bad. It's like, no, they're using cap because it's actually useful to their bottom line. And we're using like what crypto is powerful at and what crypto does well, and making sure this that's known, and other people recognize that and they use it to their advantage.
Looking at the current DeFi landscape and stablecoins, you're pretty institutional focused, I would
Yeah,
assume.
I'm trying to find dates today. Like, that's why I got the soon I'll be wearing. I mean, this is like I got this at the Kentucky Derby last year, which is like a very nice light polo, especially when it's like 90 degrees. Or what is that in Celsius? Like 35 degrees Celsius in New York right now. But yes, we're definitely institutional focused. I think that's like a thing you've seen a lot more with just stablecoins and DeFi in general. I feel like crypto is just like maturing and growing up more. What's really outside of like stablecoins, what's really interesting seeing as like a trend now is like how everyone's getting into stocks with all these like treasuries buying coins, whether it's fucking Hyperliquid or Ethereum. Shadow might go sailor to like starting that meta. And so like we went extreme so much in one direction with like retail and meme coins, and now we're in such another extreme where it's like not even on blockchain, it's in fucking like TradFi and stocks and like owning a brokerage account, and it's these vehicles that are like buying up the coins. So that's just like an interesting trend I've noticed with like institution, like more TradFi and stuff. But in terms of stablecoins, we are so fucking close to the Genius Act passing. That's going to be a huge. I don't think people realize how big of a moment it is, because I've been in crypto for 8 years. Crypto's existed for over 15 years. There's been like no clear like laws or rules. It's all just been like, regulated bodies like making recommendations, and everybody just kind of like being in a gray area, not sure what's right or wrong. But this is the first time that's like, okay, like this is the definition of a payment stablecoin. This is who can issue a payment stablecoin, and this and these are like the rules they must follow and whatnot. And so it's really exciting to see, but like the recognition from basically like the powers that be. Because I think like if you we've grown to this point, but I think if you want to like grow like and get to like the next 10x 100x, it's like kind of need to get this government recognition for stablecoins especially. And so it's really exciting, and this applies to pay. So when I say payment stablecoins, I mean stablecoins that are issued against fiat and things off chain. So simplest thing is like like Tether, which or like USDC, which is bunch like 90% T-bills and then 10% cash on hand. But like that exists like off chain, and there's like various checks that need to be done, which I like. I want to know that my stablecoin's back. Hell, I want to know that my bank's back. As well. Um, and so it's really exciting to see the Genius Act like actually come through. It's like, this is what I say. What the Telecommunications Act was in 1996 for the internet and publishing, the Genius Act will be for stablecoins and DeFi.
I guess that's pretty bullish for the industry. when I looked at the last weeks, I saw sort of a different barbell coming up at the horizon, which looked like, okay, we will have the very crypto native cypherpunk ethos projects like Bitcoin, like Monero. Then we have the permissionless DeFi sections somewhere in the middle. I mean, both sides kind of tap into the functionality and the features that it provides. And then you have the blockchain tech side of the barbell, where
Mhm.
most of the value will be created and also captured by TradFi players, by fintech players. I mean, if Robinhood launches their own chain, it's not really going to benefit any DeFi application inherently. It's they use the technology, they create the value, they capture the value. So I think the way you guys are positioned with Cap, where you are building a DeFi native product, which is geared towards institutions, or at least is interact very natively with institutions from the TradFi space, is quite an interesting positioning there, because in the last weeks, it kind of looked like, okay, the existing DeFi user base will obviously continue, but where's the path to growth? Like, to what extent can it scale? So I guess you picked a very interesting position there. Maybe on the growth and BD side of things, there has been a lot of debate about crypto having a growth problem, crypto having a BD problem. Now, having one of the probably top tier crypto BD people on the pod, I can't waste this chance to ask a question like, how did this problem arise? Is it even a problem? Is it a BD issue, or is it just a lack of useful products in crypto?
I think it's a combination of things. You know, we're all in this industry to grow it and scale it. And when you scale things and grow things, especially at, a pretty exponential rate, it's hard for people to like keep up, and like for new people to join, it's hard for them to know their history. And so this is like basically where the issue lies, and like where like why BD is the way it is. There's very few people that know their history, and the ones that do are very like few and far in between. So for example, I came from the crop of DeFi summer, and like, the 2021 bull market. Hell, I was like even there before that. And so I was able to learn things and be a part of canon events, such as like the Save Yam, or like, like, oh, Chef Nomi Rug Sushi Swap, or like, oh, like Iron Finance collapse, or oh, like Luna collapse, oh, Olympus. Like all these like different things are kind of like these virtual like brotherly fraternal bonding experiences, that, and you like learn so much about just not just like, yes, like protocols, but also just humans and relationships, that you just like don't and you start forming relationships, and like people start to like get to know you. And it's not about just being seen once, it's about like getting connected and repeated connections. And so that, it like puts, I think, experience puts people like at like one like big, like that's what makes like a great BD person one. And you can't just like replicate that. You can't just like, it's like that's something like you can't really like improve it. So like those people are like few and thick in between. But even from like those people, it's important like not to just get stuck in your old head ways. You can't just be an old head and be like, oh, like the good old days. Like, no, you got to like adjust to the times. And so the opposite problem is when old heads say old heads, and they refuse to adjust to meta. So think of like, if like you're being stubborn and you're not like recognizing what went on Solana for so long with meme coins, how you're not like keeping up. Like one thing for me is I'm like always curious about products, and so if something like really like gains my interest, I will like go and try it. So I like being an early user to things just to try it out. I have this like really funny story actually. When I was at Gelato, they gave me some funds to go try out products for like, for so I can like make a better case for them. So I tried out a bunch of different like protocols and whatnot. One of them being Ribbon Finance. I don't know how much I deposited, like a minimal nominal amount. I ended up getting like a 5-figure airdrop from that like nominal amount, and I just text the Gelato like work group chat like, you're not going to believe this. So then we got this like huge airdrop. It's like, yeah, it was like, but like it's cool that like crypto is like so like new, that we are in an industry, and we are in a space where you can just like being early and being the first of things. And like I always like to have low expectations, and then like boom, you get like an airdrop. It's like, oh wow, this is really cool. So I think like I said, like it's important to have experience. That's rare, but you also need to like, if you have experience, like always like never stop learning, always adjusting, always like adjusting your worldview. So experience is one thing. The second thing is just like communication skill, acumen, and like developing relationships. People want to work with people that they like, and so like if you're just like a likable person, it just like goes a long way. People care about the things like things people can tell. Like people aren't stupid; they can tell if you're just being like transactional. If you're just like hopping from protocol to protocol, like, hey, you should like put TV over here. Hey, you should use this. Hey, blah blah blah. But like, um, and so like being like a good person, being consistent, being true to yourself is important as well. And having like good communication skills. That's so like crypto is like heavy on like, oh, the tech and mechanics and the body, but I don't think we value like the soul as much. And by soul, I mean like being able to communicate and like paint a picture and a narrative. Like those people, they're coming, but they're like so like few and far between. Um, and like to tell good stories, you also need to have like that experience, both experience, maybe like, well, both experience in like before in crypto, or if you don't have that experience, like do your research, know your history, or just like honestly having like life experience outside of crypto in general helps a lot. I can't tell you like all the stuff I like learned from college or like random YouTube videos that will just randomly pop in my head. It's like, oh shit, I can like make a whole article about this. So like having like being like a well-rounded person goes a long way as well. And like your input determines your output. So having communication skills and then just like being just fucking down for the cause and being down for like all like the hell that crypto brings and like all the adversity that it does. Because being crypto, like not just trading, but just like working, and it's not for the faint of heart. There's a lot of volatility. There's a good amount of most of the time, if you're not at like a corporate place, there's a lot of insecurity. A lot of people just like, their BD kind of thing, their BD professional like arrangement is like as a contractor a lot of the time, just how like crypto protocols and DAOs work. And so there's like a lot of insecurity. And because of that, it's like kind of sometimes like hard to attract like newer talent to BD. But you have like, I think like that's not like the end of the world, especially for like those that are like super motivated. But you have like all these different like issues. But like what makes like a good BD person is like it's to sum this all up is they have experience, they communicate well, they're likable, they are able to be in the trenches and be in the volatility. They're down for the cause. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of you just like I don't I just kind of for me I just kind of just like always been doing my thing. And I think like the most important thing you can do is just like be the best you that you can be. I know how it's like cliche and corny as that may sound, but if you just like build your own lane for yourself, like other people are recognized and follow. I think like you have this like issue of like, people like yap and like yapping for attention. But the problem with like yapping for attention and just like yap, yap, yap is like, yes, you're getting like a lot of attention, but it's like a sugar rush. It's a lot at once and then it just like disappears. You want to
Yeah.
like, instead of like having sugar, you want to have protein. You want to like build connections, build muscle over time. And like over time, those like muscle fibers strengthen and get bigger and you just get stronger. And so I'm all about just like valuing relationships, repeated connections, telling good stories, staying true to yourself. Like, I've been the stablecoin guy for the past like 4 years. I was Flywheel DeFi when like that shit was at its lowest. I never took DeFi out of my name. I never became AI Dave or Deepin Dave. I've always been DeFi Dave, and because this shit generally interests me, and like I believe it can really transform the world. And like a big thing about me, like in like my values, is like I really value self sovereignty, and I'm just being like self sovereignty on chain, but like self sovereignty in my life and just being able to live my life the way like to my own agency and free will and liberty as I see fit. And so crypto is like one of the few ways in the modern world that people can actually do that. And the trade off is that yes, you get more like, volatility and risk, and things may seem like a little bit murky and like opaque. But what you get in return if you take the risk is like a lot more freedom and agency to live your life. But not people can handle that freedom. Like some people just like, they need more structure, but like there's people that need structure, or people that are told what structure they need, or people that make structure for themselves. How there's definitely areas of my life where like I need to be told structure, but there are other areas where like, no, I want like full agency over that. So, yeah, I think like crypto just like attracts a certain type of person. And we've seen that over the years. And, going, so in terms of like scaling BD, it's like crypto has grown so much as like an industry. It's literally impossible for all those people to have like to be like high quality. It's like if like the industry has grown so fast, they have the potential to be high quality, but they're just not there. And I think for them to get there, let's say they don't have the experience, like you can just like work at it. They just have to like just use the chain, like understand like for me, how I learn is just like talking to people and whatnot. Just they just have to like get involved, stay curious, not just see it as a job, but see it as a lifestyle. Especially like that's what startups are. You go all in or get the fuck out. So that's kind of like my crypto BD rant. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree on a lot of these points. I think especially the lifestyle part, it's kind of all consuming. At point it's pretty annoying just because you can never get it out of your mind. But on the other
We'll
hand,
get used to it. Yeah, as
yeah.
long as you stay like well rounded.
I think I mean it's a unique industry to be in
Yeah.
a unique
I'm
point
not
of development. I think it's
yeah.
right now pretty hard to see crypto being exciting for new joiners or for TradFi people coming over. I mean, it kind of matures as an industry right now, but if you compare it back to the 2021 and early 2022 days, you had a genuine excitement also in
Yeah.
media, traditional industries about the space. Most of the stuff that came out of it obviously was bullshit. I still remember all the pretty cringe metaverse hype, which I personally am very glad has completely died. And I
Remember Dow
really hope
tooling? I
that
remember the conferences. It was just like
uh,
Dow tooling in 2022. I was like, oh,
then all the infra bridging, cross chain, whatever. So what do you think can we do as an industry to attract capable people and to get new people into the industry? Or if there are new people in here, like what advice would you give them?
I think like to attract new people, you need to have like leaders and ambassadors that represent the industry well, that actually build a case, make it interesting, make it inspiring for others to join. And I think that's one. I mean, it's a lot different now because as an industry, we're going up against like AI, and AI has nerd sniped a lot of people too. So it's like people that would have joined crypto are joining AI. But then again, I'm not sure if their values and head would be in the right place in the first place. I think another thing we can do is just like make more interesting tech that's worth being nerd sniped. And so that's where like BD people that I call us the social organs of crypto come in and like are able to communicate the value prop and why it's interesting. And then you nerd snipe people properly. So I see like I've been writing this article and I feel like something that could nerd snipe people in the future when it develops enough is privacy. That's definitely, I think that's like the next frontier of cypherpunks and
Yeah, it's
crypto. And it's
been
like, yeah,
looking
people, yeah,
around the industry for 10 years. I mean, essentially, it's been looking around the industry since its inception because it came out of the cypherpunk realm. So, yeah,
yeah. So you have
I'd
like,
be pretty glad if something finally stuck on the privacy
yeah.
side.
And so you have like super retail crypto, which is like your pump funds, your meme coins. You have super like TradFi institutional crypto, which is like your treasury companies buying coins. You have like, the convergence of DeFi and TradFi. And then there's this like third strain, which is like the cypherpunk strain. And I think as, RegFi becomes, Amir Tati coined that. RegFi becomes a thing. I think that's when like something called DarkFi will come up and it will be like a much more privacy focused crypto and DeFi. It's just like privacy just like makes sense to become a thing, not just for like self sovereignty, but also like you can make the institutional case for privacy on chain. It's just like these institutions won't want to like, show their trades. These institutions, like in order for them to participate, will demand privacy. So I think like privacy will probably come into crypto like that route, and I think it is coming in that route. And that's the right way to frame it. And then I'm sure like everything else will, all the other cases of self sovereignty will kind of flower from back after that. But yeah, we just need to like communicate better. I wrote a lot about, oh yeah, like crypto. I think crypto can like do a better job of like building communities with it. Not just like traveling. I think there's too many conferences. I mean, I go to a lot of them, don't get me wrong. So I might sound like a hypocrite, but it's better just to like build community in one place than to just to like be constantly conference hopping. I think like the ideal amount of conferences to go to for, I mean, varies like maybe you're raising. So like, I can't say like what's the amount, like the right amount to go to conferences, but you definitely can go to too many conferences. And like when you go to a conference, it's like, oh, everyone like comes there. It's like temporary. It's like to see everyone, and then everybody leaves. It's a lot more, efficient just to like be in one place, which is why I'm very excited to be New York building community here. It's become such more and more of a hub than it was even just a few years ago. Um, and so yeah, just building community out here. because yeah, you can like waste a lot of time. Like sometimes conferences just kind of become like redundant. And it's just like all the panels are like the same. They have the same people. They talk about the same shit. Nothing really gets done. It's like, okay, how many times can we talk about like the backing of stablecoins or like, oh, like meme coins or like it's like I don't know. It's kind of like a waste of time. Honestly, people just go to the conferences not really for like the panels, and they really just go for just to, like see like their colleagues, see their friends, and like get shit done at dinners. It's about the dinners, not the happy hours anymore. And that's because like before there was like a lot of low context people. So before when like everyone was new, like and a lot of the topics were new, the conference were like much more worth going to because people had like a lot lower context into what was going on. That was like 2021, 2022. Now everybody knows what's going on. And so they're high context. And so all like the happy hours and like panels are like, I mean, some of them are still valuable, but like a few of them, the panels, like not so much. If you're like do events, like you better like, make it attractive and make it a meme out of it. Like people want to be a part of something, they want to be a part of lore. And that's kind of like what we've done at like ETH Bushwick. It's kind of like the side thing like we've been doing for fun for like the past. It's almost been like a year, but no, I kind of like this article about like lore building, and a lot of it was influenced. It's like the premise of it is like how can crypto tell better stories, and from these better stories we can attract new people into the space because it's kind of like there was like a clot. It's like a clot, and we were clogged. And so we can tell better stories by giving the platform for people like to basically tell the stories on behalf of crypto or on the behalf of a project. And so that's kind of the argument I make is like, with Satoshi and Bitcoin, what he did right was, yeah, he wrote the Bitcoin Right paper. He started the Bitcoin forum and he was active on there. But he just like planted the seed, but the community was the one that nurtured the seed and let the plant grow and take root into something much more powerful. And you had like other lore builders do the same thing. Like you had Direct Pirate Roberts with the Silk Road, you had Roger Ver investing in Bitcoin Jesus back in the day. And now like the modern day lore builder for Bitcoin is Michael Saylor carrying the mantle through Wall Street. And like you can say his like I call Satoshi like an Abrahamic lore builder in the same way that Abraham started like all the like he was like the forefather of all like the Abrahamic religions like Christianity, Judaism, Islam. Same thing with like Satoshi with like Bitcoin, Ethereum, all the blockchains after him. Hell, in Ethereum's Genesis block was the same thing as was in Bitcoin's Genesis block, like breaks on the brinks of a bailout. And so there's a connection there.
The
But yeah,
Bitcoin
just crypto.
maxis were not happy to hear that statement you just made there.
I know, but yeah, Satoshi is like the forefather of like blockchain. It's like in the same way, like yeah, like BCE AD or BCE AD, BCEC, whatever the BC 80 is like before Christ, after Dominion. I think you have like before Satoshi, after Satoshi. That'll probably be a thing in like a few hundred years.
Yeah. Right now, since you mentioned you're always trying to explore new stuff on DeFi, try new stuff out, what are your top three protocols you're excited about right now?
Top of these protocols I'm excited about. Other than Cap, I think a lot of cool stuff's happening on like on Hyperliquid, and so I've been kind of like farming on there like a little bit. I like the thing is like when it comes to like DeFi farming, I know how like Cap has like a bunch of operators that are like market makers and they're professionals. They're like people that they're people like way better at this stuff than me. So I'd rather just like do like pretty like passive strategies. So I've been doing like whatever I've been doing. I've been doing using like Volantis. I've been doing like Hyper. I've been doing staking rewards. Um, I would, was playing around on Berachain, and like I think Dolomite is an absolutely phenomenal app. Shout out Dolomite. You can just do like they just really built like a very dynamic super. I call it. It's like the closest thing I've seen to a super app in crypto is like Dolomite. A shout out Corey Kaplan and team. I always give him a shout out.
Yeah, I met him in Denver. Great guy.
Yeah, he's great. And then so those are the things. Like the thing is, it's just like, and then I think Cap is like the next big. Cap is the next big thing to happen in DeFi. And like once people like see it and like, oh shit, they're gonna be everyone's just gonna know. So those are like protocols and Cap, of course.
I also fully agree on the point you made earlier that many of the conferences have become pretty redundant. The last
Yeah,
two big ones I attended, I think, were ETHCC in 24 and ETH Denver this February. And I didn't even go to the main events. I just hung around at side events I considered high signal. And like what you remember from these conferences is like always that one or two key connections that you make with people. Doesn't even have to be business or like some inherent fit related. It's just like you get along very well as people, and then you just walk through that city where the conference is for hours, and you
Yeah,
talk.
that's
And
really Con a great city. Con was like an excellent conference because coming into Con, everybody was fudding it. They're like, oh, like it's gonna be like it's con, like it's all this shit, blah blah blah. Why are we going to con, blah blah blah. But it ended up being such a great conference because it was a small city, so it was like quite condensed, and so it was easy to walk around. You could just be having a beer at a pub or something. You see like 10 people walk by, or like on the boardwalk with all the beach clubs. I thought con was fantastic. Vibes are good. I think like Ethereum kind of like Ethereum does have its teeth again. So it's like cool seeing that. Like before ETH Denver, it was like that was like the bottom, and like now ETH is like so back. And so it's like good to see. And yeah, the con was good. I don't know what the next conference I'm going to is though. Definitely want to check out Dev Connect in Buenos Aires. I want to go to like where the stablecoin users are. And so like Argentina, Turkey, stuff like that, Korea, and where people are like using crypto. Because I'm trying to reach the users first and foremost. So we'll see. So if you're in Argentina, hit me up.
probably won't make it to Buenos Aires, but maybe to Token in Singapore later
Yeah,
this year.
Singapore,
Yeah,
it's
I'll
so
have to
hot.
see. Yeah, I wanna visit it at least once. Never been to Singapore so far, so yeah, I'd be
It's cold.
pretty excited
The
for
food
that.
is delicious. Food is delicious.
Nice. Yeah, Dave, great having you on. I'll definitely follow Cap and see what's going on. We're pretty excited for the project, and to also see the stablecoin space mature a lot to just where we've been
Yeah,
a year
we're about to
or
enter the
two
big
weeks.
times. We're about to enter the big boy era. So, everyone strap
Absolutely.
up, get ready.
Where can people find you? Where can people find Cap?
Yeah, so you can find me on X Twitter at DeFi Dave 22. You can find Cap on Twitter uh, at capmoney underscore. Our website's cap.app. You can find our docs there. You can find, things coming very soon. Got several big announcements in the pipeline. PayPal is the first of many. Institutions love Cap. Remember that. And yeah, go follow Cap.
Pretty cool. Was great having you on, and let's
Yeah.
keep in touch.
Thanks, Max. Talk to you soon. Ciao.
See you.